Everything I do in my art making is in honor of my ancestors. I feel that they're here with me. This is not me that's doing this. I feel that the work comes to me from them, and this work, the moss bag, is no different. My name is Daphne Boyer. I'm a visual artist of Métis descent from Red River in Manitoba. I use women's traditional handwork, plant material, and high-resolution digital tools to create 2- and 3-dimensional works that speak to my Métis ancestry. I come from a long line of very strong women. My great-grandma was a midwife born in the middle of the Ball Prairies. She helped birth many babies over her life. My grandmother was born on a hunt, and my mother was a naturalist, a self-taught naturalist. Generally speaking, the works come to me in an image, and the moss bag came to me in a really different way. A few years ago, I went to the Manitoba Museum, basically in search of artifacts that could help me broaden my understanding of my family's history, get a sense of where my family fit into the whole history of the Métis people in the Red River District. And I met Dr. Maureen Matthews, who's the curator of ethnology. She showed me these remarkable artifacts in the archives, and one of them, which is moss bag H423, I believe, I fell in love with. It was kind of like tumbling down a time tunnel. I know those designs. I know the black background with the bold floral prints on them. My grandma and her Indigenous friends used to make their house dresses out of that type of calico cloth. I was familiar with the content in the bag, that I could read what the flowers were, tie them back to my grandma, great-grandma, tie it back to my own life. There is an infinity sign beaded into one of what I think is a rose blossom. As well, there's the thorny stems of the rose, which reflect the resilience and the resistance of the Métis to just give way to the ideology that was being imposed on them. So this beading was really like it was a language that they read on the clothing of others, but they embedded their own stories into what they made. The fact that this piece was sitting in a drawer survived, 130 years, but the fact that it's in the dark. I wanted to really pay homage to this woman. I didn't know what her name was, but like many of my female ancestors, my Ojibwe or Saulteaux or Cree ancestors, I know only their first names of these women. So, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I thought, I want this piece speaking to me loudly, and I want to shout it out. I want to bring it into the world in a big way. So that was where the impetus to do this work came from. My version of the moss bag, because I wanted to really amplify the original piece and put it in the face of the viewer as a way to say, hey, look, this thing really moved me to this extent. So what I used was this technique that I developed where I used berries as beads. I've photographed them in a particular way where each individual berry can be scaled up to the size of your head. There's a team of us that devised this technique together. was that meticulous, but in many ways it really reflected the attention that these women would put into their beading. And I imagine that initial beader, working late into the night, building love into the work she made. She's Métis, she's Dene, she's from around the Mackenzie Delta. Her style is very much in the Métis floral tradition, and she's an expert at it. She obviously excelled. So how do we celebrate her? That's part of the custom, is that we honor those who have gone before us. We name them. I can't name her. I want to really draw attention to her and to her story, as much of that story as I can assemble from the fragments of information I have. And she's just one of many artists of this caliber whose work deserves this kind of homage, or that deserves to be venerated. I would tell her that in the 21st century, her work lives on, and it is an inspiration. And even more than that, I would tell her that that work has been my teacher.